Welcome to the Park and Play podcast, episode 2. My name's Paul. We're here to park up and find out about somebody else's journey. Today we are joined by Michael Doyle. Michael, thanks for joining us. Please tell us a bit about yourself and what it is, who you are and what you do.
How you doing? I'm Michael Doyle. I'm currently a professional football player. I play with Cove Rangers, but I've had a long career through different clubs and teams, and I'm here to talk to Paul about it today, even though I look like I'm in one of the car pornos that looks like we're kind of setting up in here. But I'm not. We're here to talk about football. I'm a wee bit disappointed I'm not here for that, but we're here to talk about football.
Aye, talk about football. I was buzzing to get you on, actually. When I think about the journeys, right, this kind of, the idea of the journey in the podcast behind the Park and Play was, I think I've had quite a successful journey. I do quite well professionally. I've got a good job. I work for a massive company. And then the other social media stuff, done a bit of gaming, and that became really successful. And I was like, sometimes we don't shout about the successes. So I wanted to get people on who have had success and they should be shouting about it. How did you get started in football? Like, obviously, as a kid, we all kick about the street, we all play football. But how did it start in terms of like getting into organised football?
Listen, I think where football started for me is just the same as it started for you, which probably know a lot of kids. It starts from NML. We're looking at a couple of kids playing earlier in football, and that would have been probably stuff I'd have done on a Sunday. Come up with my mates, played football on any bit of grass. But into professional, into kind of organised football, I've told this story before, I got in really late compared to other people. I mean, nowadays you can get into academies at 6 and 7 year old, which I don't always believe is right. I think you sometimes take away from kids enjoying football. Do you know what I mean? And kids have got to enjoy it. It's the most important thing. I do a bit of coaching with kids nowadays, and I say to them, what is the most important thing in football? And they'll say winning, and they'll say passing, working on technique. And I'm like, no, it's fun.
Aye.
It's fun. Fun is like, that's why you play football. Do you know what I mean? It's a fun, it's an enjoyment. I mean, I'm 34 now. I'm still playing. I believe I've still got many years left in me. And I've just come back for a wee injury there. And I missed it. I missed being away from it. And I knew that's how I know I'm nowhere near ready to retire. My body can still beat everybody's, you know what I mean? I'm still fit and things like that. But I'm still enjoying it. I still love it. I miss it when I'm not playing football. So to get involved later on, I think I was 14 or 15. I was playing with youth, with not even academy, sorry, just boys clubs. Just playing with boys clubs, playing with my mates, playing years above me, my own level, playing on a Saturday, playing on a Sunday. I was doing a bit of rugby as well. Like, my school had a rugby team, so I joined that. So I was literally doing 3-4 sports every weekend. And it just so happened that my dad knew a guy in at Hamilton, and they invited me along just for a game. Played centre half, just went for a game, did really well. And after the game, it was literally like all these boys in a change room, and it was genuinely like, right, we want to sign you, and you. And he's like, we want to bring you into the academy. And it was just like that. One day I was there, and then I had to phone up my boys' clubs and saying, listen, he's been picked up off Hamilton.
And what age were you there?
I think I was 14. I think it was under 15s. So I was 14 getting in. Literally had just played with my mates, played football. And there was boys in academies and all that, but I was just happy playing with... I was always playing a year above me, which I believe made me a bit tougher. I played, you know this yourself, I played down here at 5-a-sides when I was 14, 15, playing against men who, when you were a wee bit quicker in, would just put you up in the air, which I learnt a lot from. And I try to get that to the young boys in my team nowadays. Like, you just... There's a attribute in being tough. There is. It's something that's maybe lost a wee bit through football. I'm not saying you need to be a hard man, but just being tough in a tackle, or taking a tackle and just picking yourself up and dusting yourself down, do you know what I mean? And going, right, I can go again, because that can get into people's heads and go, by the way, this wee guy's not going to give up. So and at Hamilton, I was with Hamilton for a year. I was moving up the levels. They were moving me up. I was playing with the 17s. I was only 14, 15. And by the end of the year, I got took in and got told that Celtic were wanting to buy me.
Wow.
So I literally went from playing boys club one summer, full year at Hamilton, absolutely loved it, to Celtic wanting to come in and buy me. And they were happy with the compensation fee. It was quite a good compensation fee. But then Hamilton did say to me, what do you want to do? Like, we could see you in a first team in a couple of years. Do you know what I mean? So we keep pushing you up and things like that. When I look back on my career, do I go, I wish I'd have stayed and stayed? Maybe. But at that time, I didn't have anybody that would have gave me the advice. My dad played football his whole career, but no professionally, so we didn't know. Agents weren't a thing back then. Like, they were a thing for first team players, but youth players nowadays, academy players have all got agents and all that.
Aye.
Didn't have agents back then, so it was just a kind of decision me and my dad made. And we're big Scotland fans. Do you know what I mean? I would have played with Celtic Cove Rangers. Like, we still go and watch Celtic Rangers games. We're more just love of football. But at the end of the day, we sat down and we went, Celtic, innit? It's like, I mean, it's one of the biggest clubs in Scotland, or one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Aye.
And we get invited up to Parkhead, me, my mum, and my dad, to meet Tommy Burns. And just meeting him was, we made the decision kind of there and then, and we signed in Parkhead there.
Wow.
So I went from boys club, 5-a-sides with my mates, a year with Hamilton, and then Celtic bought me.
Wow, that's phenomenal, and I think it's quite interesting you're saying I would have played for Celtic or Rangers, because I think when you're a young football player and you're playing for teams and you want to do really well, you would. I think most people would. They would take that opportunity to play for any one of the clubs just to get your name out there. I wanted to get back just a wee touch, because we're talking about, so obviously we're doing Cole's car park and Drumchapel here, and you've played here for a number of years. I've played here since this thing opened, right, and I'm 43 now. I think I was doing here in 16s. I think that was a really important point, because you talked about the toughness, playing against older guys, kind of learning off older guys. I found that amazing when I played down here. Like, for me as a football player, developing, I done it down here at Goals, because you're playing against men who would put you into the boards and give you a dig and hit you hard, and you had to get up and go on with it, because that's just the way football was. So see, like that kind of thing, was there any other kind of earlier influences? Was it your dad? Was it your brother? Do you know what I mean? Who was the early influences in you, or was it just something that you really enjoyed doing?
Well, my brother was a bit of a dick, so he bullied me a wee bit when I was younger. That kind of toughened me up, but I never took any shit off any. Nah, listen.
Character building.
Character building. That's what it was. I've got an older brother. He was 5 years older than me, and we were fine when we were younger, but then we got grown up and I started stealing all his clothes, so he started beating the shit out of me a wee bit. But no, listen, anybody who knows me, my dad's a massive influence for me. Massive. Still is to this day. Massive influence. He had me when he was, obviously had my brother, but then he had me when he was 27. So when I started going to football with him, he was about 35, playing junior. And he's a massive character, similar to kind of what I'm on the changing rooms now. He's a massive character. So every Saturday I went to his football, and I was in the changing room after the games with him. Was there the whole game. Then they would go to the pub after the game. It wasn't linked anything like that, but that was the custom thing when you played amateur and junior. The teams all took you to each other's pubs, and we would go into the pub with him. If we weren't allowed in the pub, we'd sit in the motor and wait for him to have like maybe some food and all that, and they'd come back and get us. He's a massive influence. So he started taking me to his football training when I was around about 12 or 13. And it started, well, it used to take me when I was younger, but around about 12 or 13, they'd let me join in, right? They would let me train with them. So teams like Knightswood and that, but it was when down to like Drumchapel United. So my dad was on one of the first Drumchapel United teams. It was 2001. Like John Black and that. John Black was the manager. My dad was one of the first players. So he's obviously had a great connection with him. So it was 2001, I was 10. So he started taking me there when he was 10. And they started letting me join in. Just because I was a wee bit bigger. I was a bit tall for my age. And I'd join in as maybe some passing stuff and then into some possession stuff. And they were like, by the way, he's not bad. Like, we're no feeling as if we're training with a kid. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't go into the 50-50s and that, and they knew not to put me up in there that much, you know what I mean? Because they knew I was a kid. But you wouldn't get any sympathy off my dad. He would just pick you up and go, no, wait, next time he gets the ball, go back and go and tackle him then. Do you know what I mean? Like, so they were massive influences me. And these people knew my dad's friends are like uncles to me. Do you know what I mean? So I grew up with them all training. They were all a bit younger than him. So I'm growing up now and I'm ending up in night suit with them because they're a bit, as I say, when I was like 35, they were maybe about 20 at the time. So they were kids. And my dad played right up until, I think he was 47. Maybe 47? No. Something like that when they won the Scottish Cup, and they brought him on. It was the Western Scottish Cup or the Scottish Cup Amateur Cup, and they brought him on in the final. They let him come on in the final, and the biggest cheer was when he fell at the ball. So, so I was still going to watch him. Even when I was back playing football, he was still trying to play. So my dad was a massive influence on me, definitely. I vividly remember him being no bad, but then when I talk to other people and they just say, nah, he was shite. So,
funnily enough, my first ever 11-a-side team I played for, first ever, was in Drumchapel. I was 18, and Davy Hardy asked me to come along, play for this. I scored after 2 minutes. I was absolutely buzzing, and I was about 3 mile offside. So that was quickly brought right back down to earth. But I played for Stowe Hearts. It was my first ever club. And your dad played for them.
Right.
Your dad played centre mid. And I just remember this guy, because he wasn't the tallest, and he was heavy, and I just couldn't believe how good he was as a football player. And I've spoke to you about this before, right? And we always kind of joke back and forth. Honestly, one of the biggest influences I've ever seen in a football park. I couldn't believe this guy. I was like, he's getting in people's heads. He's winning tackles. He's winning headers that he shouldn't be winning. He's not a big guy, but he was out jumping people because his timing was better, and he was just so good on the ball. His knowledge was so good. I just loved playing with him. I loved playing in that team as a young 18-year-old boy, seeing your dad do stuff, and I was just like, this guy's amazing. Like, and a big character.
No,
like
listen, his character thing, and he kept things simple. And he was, listen, see simplicity in football. People think it's like an easy thing to do, and you go, no, like, don't understand how just keeping things simple is. I mean, I'm not like Neil Lennon at Celtic. How simple he just kept everything. Do you know what I mean? He was Celtic captain, and he went on and played hundreds of games for Celtic, so he wasn't a bad football player. Do you know what I mean? But you missed him, and when the higher I went up the career, see if you miss somebody on the park, you know he's good. You might not notice him there all the time, but see when as soon as he's not there, like, I'm not saying like a Kante kind of thing, because Kante, I feel as if people started to appreciate him a wee bit more now, like because they won the World Cup and things like that. But he did things simple. Won the ball back, gave it to somebody else. Knew his job. Like, simplicity in football is just, it's an art. It's as skillful as being a goal scorer, I think. Like, just keeping getting the ball and thinking as if, look, Busquets looks as if he could do it all day. Just nice and simple. So my dad later on in his career was really good, and he bounced about the parks. And listen, as you say, see getting in people's heads and all that, he was a Michael Jordan-esque and just annoying people. And like he would just slightly say stuff to people, stoning people's toes and all that. And he got the best out of people. It was so, talking about where we are goals. He started helping out with the drum under 20s, but 2 or 3 years ago, and he just couldn't commit to it the full in, right? So he was kind of helping, no helping, but they had their game got called off, so they've come up to play. Wee fives tourney. Just went like, listen lads, the game's called off. We'll go up to goals. We'll do a wee fives tourney. So it was only 3 teams, and my dad's went, right, we'll put a wee coaches hanging together, right? And I was standing at the side of the park at the time. He's like, Michael, get your boots. I says, aye. He's like, on, you can come on and play, right? Maybe no best saying that on camera, by the way, right? But aye, we did anyway. I don't care, like, it's all right. But I went like, aye, I'll come on and play. So they'd only ever seen my dad as this wee fat guy, right? And I was like, by the way, he's underestimating how good, especially at fives, like, as soon as we went on the party and up meg two of the kids and he scored a cracker, man, to the boys, I was like, he's underestimating how actually decent he was. Do you know what I mean? You think he's just this wee fat baldy guy, he says, but he was a decent football player back in the day. So, back to influences, he was probably my major influence in my life. And most my football life, but most of my life as well.
Aye, wow, amazing. And I can understand that. And it's kind of the answer I expected, if I'm honest, knowing him, knowing who he is and what kind of character he is. So no, let's go back a wee bit to the Celtic. So signing for Celtic's massive. At what, 14-year-old? They're getting signed for Celtic for a sum of money as well. So, wow, tell us about that then.
So we obviously had a decision to make that kind of summer when my dad went away on holiday and things like that, and it was like Celtic or Hamilton or things like that. Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't. But when you hear through my whole career, it always ends up in the summer. I always need to kind of make a decision and things like that. So it probably staying for them. So I decided to go to Celtic. Obviously went up, Tommy Burns, signed in the part. Meeting Tommy was larger than life character. Do you know what I mean? Much like my dad, they two had it half amazing, just banter and things like that. So turned up at Barrowfield pre-season, and I always seem to thrive in pre-season. I'm always a fit boy, so running, doing all these kind of things, and do you know, like, I knew tactically I was behind other kids, and I knew that. Like, no tactically, sorry, like, technically I knew I was behind other kids. But what I didn't have in technical ability, I had an aggression and I had in work ethic. And that's been the basis of my whole career. Do you know what I mean? And even to this day, you start to learn that, by the way, just because you're not the most technically gifted player, doesn't mean you've not got the other attributes, which you can go and have a good career. And I think the more you realise that, like, so you can always work on things. I always worked as hard as I possibly could, and I still do to this day. I'm 34, I'm coming up to playing 600 professional games. I still work on things that I know I can be better at. And I might never get better. By the way, you're never going to be the best at them. But if you can feel as if a wee bit better and you can get a wee bit more confidence for them, then it just shows that hard work can get you a good career. Do you know what I mean? Like, and timing and luck, all these things happen as well. Do you know what I mean? They all come into a factor when you want to be a professional football player, and it was just lucky that have became a professional. I still don't use the term professional football player. I'm 34 now. I made my debut when I was 18. I've played almost 600 games. You
need to embrace it.
I don't like telling people, I don't go a professional football player. I used to just tell people I'm a plumber or something like that. Do you know what I mean? I don't like, because I go, I'm just a hard-working boy that loves playing football. It just so happens I get paid to do it. Do you know what I mean? But that was when I went into the academy. I knew I was behind people technically, but then I thought, right, if I know I'm behind you technically, when we go to do running, when we go to do other things, like runs, never get beaten a run. I was like, I'm going to win fitness tests. I'm going to push myself, because I always thought that this could be, and it was one thing my dad kind of drilled me, this could be your last day today. So if it's going to be your last training session, don't leave it to tomorrow. What are you going to do that? So every run, every sprint, every possession we did, I did 100%. And first year, we were under, I think we were under 15s, then we went to under 17s. So under 17s, you ended up, they used to do, for 15s, you took a jump to 17s, 17s to 19s. So when you were in between, if you were the younger version of the 17s, because the 17 had two age groups together, the older group always played, because it's their last year at 17s. Right. So I'd went from playing every week at Hamilton to now, even though I'm working hard and getting in the team, the older boys kind of had priority. Right. So they always started. So I went for then being on the bench a lot. Do you know what I mean? Because even though you would come on and play your own part, but that was a frustrating year because I wanted to play. You train all week and you want to play on the Saturday. It got to the end of the first year and I had a 2-year deal. And I took the plunge and went, listen, I want to leave school. I want to come in full time. So they offered me, it was a kind of an expenses contract to start with, to come in for the season as full time down at Barrowfield and train with the 19s. So I came in and done that. Wow. And that year, I was one of the starters, and then they made me captain in that at under 17s. So I was captain for the under 17s, and I think we went through the whole year without getting beat. I think we were just, but the thing when you look back at academies, and I'm talking to people about academies nowadays, clubs, if they get one player out every 5 years into an academy, especially with Celtic, right? If you can get one player out of like 5 academy teams, and I know it sounds terrible to say, like that one player, if he's going to be a superstar, it just so happened in my academy team, a lot is actually went on done really well. So James A. Forrest was my team at academy, right? Me and James used to room together. So James A. Forrest, right? And I don't know what kind of career he's went on to do, right? I don't know, I've maybe had a better career. Do you know what I mean? When you're talking about the guy who goes on and bees, probably the most, he is actually the most decorated player in Celtic's history. Do you know what I mean? Right? You've got him. You've got Callum McGregor, who was one of the younger ones coming up in our academy. Celtic club captain now, scored a cracker last night. Do you know what I mean? Like him. Big Declan Gallagher went on and played for Scotland, Aberdeen. Do you know what I mean? So you've got all these players. You've got other players that played at other levels. Boy, Grant Gallagher played down at Stranraer. I think he had a testimonial last year down at Stranraer again. Stayed in the game. Do you know what I mean? You've got all these academy players, and I'm probably forgetting one or two, but that was, you're talking about. That's a calibre. I think there was about 6 or 7 boys who actually went on and had a decent career. Do you know what I mean? Out of a very hard group. So I was there full time for a year, and then it was coming to the end of the year, and I spoke to Tommy Burns about halfway through, And I was like, my contract's up at the end of the year. Somebody gave me a bit of advice to come speak to him. He went, Doyle, he's like, you've been brilliant. He's like, honestly, the improvements you've made, I've seen you in the gym. He's like, I can see it. I can see, like, I know, and we spoke about not being technically as good as things, but he's like, I can feel that you want it. Do you know what I mean? He's like, I like players like that. And then it just so happened that he took ill. And eventually, obviously, passed away for skin cancer that year. Now, I'm not saying that he would have kept me on. I can imagine it being a hard conversation, because I know that it can be a hard conversation when a kid comes up to you halfway through a season and says, are you going to keep me on? I'm not saying you would just say something to get him, but like, it's hard to then just turn to the kid and go, no, we're not going to keep you on. So maybe it would just give me a wee boost to just make me feel better or something like that. But I do believe played every game that season, captain, done really well. Could have maybe got another deal, possibly. New guy came in and he was bringing his own people in, which happens in football. Listen, believe me, that's not the only one of the stories I've got. And just at that time, when we were in the deal, when we were in the end of the season with the new head of youth, Chris McCart from Motherwell, my manager was in at the time, boy Joe McBride, and Joe, actually, it was a weird meeting. It was such a, and I'll never forget it. My dad always brings it up. Not always brings it up, but if we ever talk about it, Chris McCart was basically saying, we wish you the best. Like, I'm just going to bring my own people in, things like that. And Joe kind of butted him in, and he's like, listen, I think we're making a massive mistake. He's like, I don't think we should let you go. He's like, I think we're making a massive mistake. So me and my dad are sitting across for this table going, so am I staying? Am I gone? Like, what is happening here? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and he's like, no, I think we're making a massive mistake. Like, I think you're the right kind of character we like having around the place, and things like that. You're young, you still learn and all this kind of thing. He's like, I wouldn't get ready. I don't know what's happening here. And me and my dad are sitting in this meeting going like,
what is happening?
So we left the meeting knowing that I wasn't going to be at Celtic anymore, but I still had that. I was on my toes a wee bit going that, by the way. Like, it was the weirdest kind of release, shall we say, like getting released for a club as I've ever been involved in.
Wow, that must be really strange. It must be really difficult for obviously being released by a club. I mean, I get released by Partick Thistle Supporters Club, amateur, Sunday morning, and I was devastated when I get told that. Do you know what I mean? But there's very few that actually make it professional, and very few again that even make it to the top end. So it must be really difficult. That must have been really hard.
No, listen, it was as I say, that meeting softened the blow a wee bit, because I thought, I know I was good, I know I was doing well, but, and this is, I'll go back to even before, I always wanted to play football. I never ever thought it would be a career. Right. I just loved playing football. Like, when I was at school, I actually picked my grades to be a dentist. I don't know why. I thought I was like, my dad was like, what do you want to do? I was like, I kind of want to be a dentist. I don't know why. I had this notion I wanted to be a dentist. And I picked all my grades to be a dentist, and I was working towards that. And then the football thing just kind of spiraled and took off. And then, like the second year itself, I decided to leave school and go full time, because I thought that was the best thing to do. And it just became a thing. Like, I wanted to go and play football. And I mean, what am I, 17, 18 years now, and I'm still playing. Do you know what I mean? For leaving school at 16, I'm 34 now. Do you know what I mean? So that was my first professional pre-season, and now I'm still playing. So when I left, I was gutted. I had my dad behind me, but who was like, listen, you can go and do other things. Like you don't know where this might go. Like, it might be the end, it might not be the end, but like, if you work hard enough, you never know what might happen. And I think kids nowadays, when they leave academies, they think it's the be-all and end-all. By the way, it's not even the be-all and end-all if you don't make an academy. Do you know what I mean? I never made an academy until I was 14, 15. You don't know. Like, you look at other people's career, like Jamie Vardy. Never became a Premier League football player until he was 26, 27, and went on to win the Premier League, England caps. You know what I mean? Your time is... Everybody thinks there's a right time when things happen. There's no. Do you know what I mean? You don't know. It doesn't mean you need to gear up and things. You never know when things might change. I know boys that for junior and professional clubs have signed them at 23, 24 because they're doing really good at junior. And they've had to gear up their job now because they're now a professional football player. Do you know what I mean? Like, so there's no timing on things. And everybody's pathway is totally different. You don't have to be in an academy. It's good to be in an academy and learn, but there's different aspects for football. Do you know what I mean? So I always believe that I was gutted when I left, but then I was like, right, what's next? What happens then?
Aye, so obviously you left Celtic, you've not got a deal. What happens next in terms of what's your next steps? Are you looking for another job, or you just try to get the head down and work hard in football and hope something happens?
So I think I was 16, 17 at that point. I'm forgetting my ages. I'm so old. I'm forgetting my ages. I still feel 21 now, right? And I love it. I still feel 21 now. But in the summer, I didn't have an agent or anything like that. Again, agents hadn't clipped onto the youth team football yet.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, like the agents can get in there. And the agents are good. I've got an agent. I'm really pally with my agent. He can help you, and I try to get young boys onto my agent because I feel as if they can help you. They're no there to make money yet, but because they see it, but they want the potential. Do you know what I mean? Everybody's in for something, of course. That's the business, but they'll do well for you because it does well for them.
Aye,
do you know what I mean?
It's in their best interest.
But anyway, I'm pally with my agent. You don't have to be pals with your agent. See if your agent does a job,
Aye,
then
that's
what you want. In the summer, I actually had a couple because I'd done so well the year before. A couple of clubs actually gave me a wee phone, a couple of head of youth. So originally Falkirk gave me a phone, and I went up, done a couple of sessions with them. They trained up away at Stirling Academy, Stirling Uni, sorry. Round about this time, money was starting to get involved. So at Celtic, the last 6 months, I was getting paid. No, what kids get paid nowadays, expenses, things like that. Like, do you know what I mean? There was boys there, academy players on really good money. But it's probably something that happens nowadays, especially at Celtic and Rangers. Young kids get paid so much money so quickly before they've even kicked a ball.
Aye.
See, when you leave these academies, you're not going to get the thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds a week you get at Celtic Rangers and things like that, right? And I hope you do. I hope they do. I wish everybody player the best. I hope they do. Realistically, when you start getting down the leagues, you don't. You make good money. Clubs make good money. I've always made really good money. So, but there's a realisation thing of it. Do you know what I mean? But I was leaving, and I mean, I'm talking a couple £100 a week or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So Falkirk invited me away up there. So away up at Falkirk. And Falkirk's academy are really high thought of. Like at that time, you'd like Arfield had just come through the year before, and if you go to the stadium, they've got all the players that come through their academy up on a board, like, do you know what I mean? Like, had made first team football, and like my boy Kieran Duffy and that had made the first team football. All these boys had made the first team, so you knew there was I was actually speaking about this to somebody earlier on about promoting people getting into the first team. Do you know what I mean? Because that shows how good well the academy's working.
Of course,
So I went up there, done a couple of training sessions. It was a lot of travelling for me at that time, which now I don't really mind when I play for Cove Rangers. Do you know what I mean? I'm up and down to Aberdeen all the time, but at the time I didn't drive or anything like that, so it was a way up in Stirling Uni. And then round about the time I was actually going to sign, Kilmarnock phoned me up, and they trained at Science Parks, which is what for us. Well, I know for a fact it's an 8-minute run because I ran it a few times. Do you know what I mean? Like if I missed the bus, I was like, I'm just going to run this. That was the kind of guy I was. I'm just going to put my bag on and run this. So maybe longer than 8 minutes actually, but like it was a run. So I went and met them, done a training with them, and I went, so much easier. Like they were offering me actually a wee bit more money at the time as well. So, but I've never been driven by money, but I was like, I can see myself staying here after training and practicing because I'm knowing that time schedule. And this is the way my mentality was, where when they finished training, they'd done a gym session, I'd have to jump in a motor with 4 other boys to drive home, whereas I liked staying out and doing my own thing, staying out practicing, maybe getting there a wee bit earlier, doing my own thing. And Kilmarnock suited me that way. I could go in early, do my own gym session, train, do an extra training session, and do my own wee bit. And I wouldn't need to be home till later on at night. Do you know what I mean? I never had to rely on other people. I don't like relying on other people, so I was like, I could do that myself. So I signed with Kilmarnock, and at the 19s at Kilmarnock. So
and see, at that time, what sort of contract's that in terms of length?
So that was a 2-year deal. That was a 2-year deal. So it was a 2.5-year deal at Celtic. Again, academy. I'd moved up and trained with reserves and things like that. And it was one of the other podcasts I was telling a story where we eventually moved up to Lennoxtown with Celtic. Right? That's the thing as well. So this is where I thought, back to the kind of thing where I kind of started to push for a new deal. we were training 19s v reserves, and I get called up. Oh, sorry, 19s v reserves, and I get called up to play for the 19s in just a wee bounce match, just against the reserves.
Aye.
I was playing left back, and I done really well in the game. Right, quick, direct, getting at people, and I'm obviously right. I'm no found my left foot. I'm still looking for it now, but at the game, I done really well. Turned up to training the next day. 19's manager came in and went, by the way, you have to stay at home. You have to stay out after training. He's like, you're going to play the reserves. And I was like, right, okay. Brilliant. Come on the last 20 minutes for the reserve team. So I was only 16 at this point. Come on for the reserves. You've got like Stephen Presley and all that playing in the game. Do you know what I mean? I've come on for the reserves and done amazing. After the game, everybody who gave me lifts were already in the 19s. So I'm up in Lennoxtown now for a lift home. So I'm like, I don't drive. I don't hang. So I was like, my mentality is like, just looks like I'm walking, right? Just stuck a bag on, just started walking. So I done really well there. And I must have walked from Lennoxtown to Torrance, all the wee country roads. Just kept walking, had my headphones in, kept walking. And eventually, big car pulled up, beeping the horn. And I'm like, I walked up and it was Danny McGrain.
Wow.
And Danny McGrain was the reserves assistant manager under William McStay. And he's like, you've been walking this whole time? And I was like, I didn't have a lift home. Like, everybody, I didn't know what I was going to. He's like, jump in. And we were talking about football and he was giving me a bit of advice about playing right back and tucking in and things like that. And it was a 10-minute car journey. But it was just amazing to sit and talk to him. And then when we got to the car, when we got to the drum chapel and he was dropping me off, my mum was she was just coming down the stairs at the time. And she's like, who'd that draft? I was like, Danny McGrain. She's like, Danny McGrain? I went, aye. She's like, played for Celtic. And I went, aye. He was the manager of the under 20, the reserves. And he's like, all right. And just at that time, Danny McGrain had got out the motor. He was just coming out to say to me, listen, here's my phone number. If you ever need it, if you're ever going to hang you like a lift, if you ever don't walk again, I'll get a lift. And I was like, right, okay. But my mum was like, that's Danny McGrain. Brilliant. So, aye. So that was around about the time I was doing well. And I thought, that's where I thought I would be getting kept on. But these things happen in football. And I learned that, you know what I mean? So I ended up signing a 2-year under-19s contract with Kilmarnock, who actually paid a no bad wage for an under-19s team. And it was a decent enough team. We trained at the science parks, we done well. I get called up to the first team a few times to train. They train next to each other. But I was still in full time, which it helped me work on thingy. And I kind of was a right back, then a centre half. And when I went back to kind of centre half, round about the time, everybody at Kilmarnock, to be a centre half, you had to be a 6'5" or something like that. Like that was Jim Jeffries' thing. So whenever I get called up to the first team to just train, I was always like a right back or a left back because they never ever thought he's not tall enough to be a centre half, which is a joke to think because Cannavaro won the ball on Ballon d'Or and he's smaller than me. Do you know what I mean? So I was there for 2 years at under-19s. Then we get called up to the first team the last couple of games. Jim Jeffries got the sack, I think, maybe in January, and Jimmy Calderwood come in. Jimmy Calderwood, Sandy Clark, Jimmy Nichol. They came in for, I think they'd left Aberdeen a year before. They came in to keep Kilmarnock up. So we were involved in the squad. They liked having the young boys about, so I get called up to train with them, the first team players. And it was round about the time we were coming up to the end of our deal. And there's no real... You don't go 19s to then reserves. Celtic do that. No other clubs can get the luxury to have a reserve team.
Aye.
So you go 19s, first team.
Right, okay.
So if you're not in that category, you've got a full squad of boys or all that group, say 18 is, you can't keep everybody. Because you're now moving, usually you could go into a reserve team, you can't. So you can't move everybody into the first team. So there was 3 years get pulled aside. It was me, boy Gavin, and Daniel Mackay, who's actually Barry Mackay's big brother, who was really highly thought of, he was really good at the time. And we get told that if Kilmarnock stay in the league, if they stay in the Prem, us three would get deals. So we were literally at the last game of the season in the stand. It was Kilmarnock v Falkirk. And I think Kilmarnock only needed a draw. And we were all sitting in the stand like that, watching the game, because we knew we were getting a first team deal if that happened. And thankfully they drew. And then the whole summer was kind of negotiating a contract and things like that. But I was always going to sign. So I was like first team football. You know what I mean? I was always going to sign. It didn't really matter about money, but I kind of tried to play the game a wee bit. But eventually, I was like, listen, I decided anyway. I was always wanting to play. So that summer, I signed my first team deal.
Wow.
When I was 18, I think. 18.
And again, in terms of length, what was that?
So I signed a year contract. We all signed year contracts. And that, to be fair, so I was first team player. You're a first team player now, right? But you're not really a first team player. You're a young boy still, first team. So
first team squad.
You're first team squad. Around about the time when you had to have 3 under-21s on the bench, homegrown under-21 players. So between the 3 of us and there was another boy, Liam Kelly, as well, who'd kind of moved up. He was a year older than us. He'd moved up. He was actually playing in the first team. We all kind of come under that bracket. So it was always one of us would miss a game. One of us we'd all travel together, train. One of us would miss a game and be in the store, another 2 would be on the bench. And it kind of went like that all the way up to December. It was Mick and Kenny Shields who'd come in the summer together. And they just loved playing football. So I loved it. We honestly, some of the things, I mean, the careers boys have been on just would have been. I was actually with Connor Salmon yesterday. We were playing against Connor. Connor went from, I don't think, started the year before, and I don't think they could bring another striker in. So Mick Patline and worked with Connor Salmon. It just shows you just putting that wee bit of work in with people into an empty net, telling them to just hit a ball into an empty net and learn what it feels like to just be that guy that just puts it in the back of the net, over and over and over. Connor Salmon went for August to January and scored something like 19, 20 goals. Then it helped he had the boy Eremenko there as well. Alexei was unbelievable. But scores 19 goals, gets £1 million moved into Derby. Do you know what I mean? Like for the summer, wasn't even getting a sniff. Goes and scores all their goals and gets a move just because a manager gives you that wee bit of belief. Something as simple as just putting the ball in an empty net. So mixing that was great. My thing is I want to play.
Of course.
So as I've said that earlier on, I just love playing football. I love it. When I'm watching football, I want to just play. I love it that much that I went to him coming up to January time, and I was like, I don't want to keep sitting on the bench. I was like, I want to go and play. Like, so what do you think? And he's like, and I think it's a great idea. He's like, here's what we'll do. He's like, I think we'll try and send you out on loan if you know clubs sorting things and things like that. And it just so happened around about the time I was speaking to an agent guy who was helping me, and he was like, listen, I can get into Stirling Albion. And it wasn't the Championship at the time, it was League One, but that was the Championship. It used to be Premier League, League One, League Two, League Three, and we'll send you in for a training session. I went in for a training session, like a month loan, and played a couple of games for them. Done really well. I got 2 assists in my first game up in Falkirk away, and I was like, no, I'm hanging. And then by the end of it, Stirling Albion kind of just took over my Kilmarnock wage, and they just did like, you can come play with us. So I was Stirling with Kilmarnock during the day, and then training at night with Stirling Albion, which is a bit funny because nowadays everybody talks about loads in football and how much you run and how much thing. I mean, I was training 2-3 times a day, and I absolutely loved it. Wow. I absolutely loved it. So I went on a loan for the season to Stirling Albion, which me taking that wee jump, the other 2 boys that had signed first team football with me at the same time didn't even play football the next year. They just fell right out of football. Do you know what I mean? So I just took that wee chance and went, I don't want to be sitting on a bench. It's nice saying I play for Kilmarnock, but I don't really like. I feel that's something that gets lost in football nowadays. Some kids like telling you who they're playing for rather than actually just playing. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
Sitting on the bench for a Premier League club or actually going out and playing. I'd rather be the guy who goes out and plays. Do you know what I mean? You learn more going out and playing. And that when I was that first team football for that kind of 6 months, just was a realisation of like I want to be doing this.
So you talk about Stirling Albion. I know there's an boy for the drum played with Stirling Albion, Scotty Davidson.
Yep.
We used there running at the same time.
No. So Scotty was actually at Falkirk when I went up to train with Falkirk. But no, Scotty came into Stirling after I was. Stirling Albion, I think they actually get relegated that year. They were right down at the bottom when I joined them anyway, you know, and I tried my best, but they had a lot of older heads as well that kind of could have done a wee bit more fitness kind of thing, do you know what I mean? Like, they were a part-time team in a full-time league. But it suited me being the part-time because I trained with Kilmarnock during the day and trained with them at night.
So you're getting the extra
So
fitness.
they've done some good results, but at the end of the season they get relegated down into League Two.
So you're still signed with Kilmarnock, but you're on loan for Stirling for how long? 6 months, a
It was
year?
to the end of the season,
End of the season. What happens then? What's the next step then?
So I'd obviously had that taste, first team football, making a debut, got to the end of the year, and again, just like every other summer, I was like, right, what am I going to do now? I spoke to Mick Park Lining again, and he was like, my advice, and by the way, it's funny because I just did my B licence with Mick, who was obviously my manager, and he just gave me this great bit of advice. He was like, there's nothing wrong with going down the leagues. He's like, I did it. He says, I left Hibs and went to Cowdenbeath. Then when became Cowdenbeath manager, and then it ends up Finland manager in a couple of years. Do you know what I mean? Like he ends up like they finished third that year under Mixu, and I think he got the Finland job. Do you know what I mean? Like that like. So he just gave me that bit of advice. He's like, go and play. He's like, I know you want to go and play. I can see. And I was like, right, aye. So during the summer, I ended up getting a phone call from Paul Hartley, right? Obviously, quite funny now because he's my manager now as well. Right? So I've known Paul since I was 19.
Leaving Kilmarnock, tell me how it happened there.
Paul Hartley gave me a phone. I think he gave me a phone, or he gave my agent who was helping me at the time a phone, and just said, listen, I'm taking over at Alloa. Alloa at that point had just been relegated to League 3, but they were I didn't realise how good a wee club they are until I went there, right? But he was selling it to me, and he's like, well, why don't you come along? It's like first team football, things like that. He's like, I've spoke to somebody at Kilmarnock about you. He was actually one of the physios, Alex McQueen. He's like, I know you for Celtic because I used to clean his boots. So I knew him for, he never ever played with him, maybe just had a training session or something like that with him. So I didn't really know him that kind of way. I was just a young guy, a young kid, and I mean, but he was getting into management at what, 34, 35, and he was taking it at Alloa. The way I think he kind of sold it, he was going to be like player manager.
Right, okay.
Never kicked a ball with a gaffer, so I don't know. Like, I enjoyed it in one training session or something like that, right? But they brought it in because it was the hype of Paul Hartley coming in. So it just so happened that Alloa team all left. So he had one signed player who was an injured kid who they took on another year because they felt it was the right thing to do to keep him in a deal. So we all turned up, and I didn't realise at the time, we were all turning up at this game, all coming in brand new players. No a squad, whether you're only joining a squad, we were all coming in together. But it wasn't just young boys, it was me, a couple of boys, experienced players, boy Dan Young, who'd known the gaffer for like Aberdeen, played against him. He was coming in as well. So it was experienced pros in there as well. On the way to the game, my dad's motorbike breaks down. So I actually need to phone Hartley, which became a running joke still to years to come, like with my dad's cars. But motor broke down on the way to the game. Had to phone him up and say, listen, I'm going to be a wee bit late. He's like, right, no worries. Nowadays he would just tell me to fucking hurry up, but at that time he didn't really know me. So turned up at the game, and we played the bounce game. And it was literally after it was like I want to offer everybody deals, and he kind of separated the rooms, and he went, right, I want to offer you all deals. He's like, I want you to be here. And it was such, I'd never been involved, and it'll probably never happen at a club again, that we went from having no date to then having this squad of 18 players who end up just gelling so well together. Everything Hartley did just worked. They brought in the right people. There was a right changing room. The atmosphere in the changing room was just amazing, motivational, everything. We had a club, we had a song that we all listened to before we went out. And nowadays when you try and get that to young boys, they're all like, nah, we'll play this rapper or that rapper. We used to listen to the Pirates of the Caribbean song before we went out. It was boy Tam Ritchie went like, I'm going to play this, I want you just to get into So it was like the Captain Jack, aye. And at first we were like, this is just stupid. But then we started winning and we were like, right, get the Pirates song on, right? So it became a thing, and I try to get that to players nowadays. It just all happened the right time, the right season, and we ended up winning the league. Wow. So we went for getting a team put together for nothing to then go and win a league. And I got, again, team of the year for the league. I won player of the season and players player of the season. And in that squad was players like Darren Young, obviously. Scott Bain was our goalkeeper, just been called up to the Scotland squad. Stevie May came in and loan. Kevin Colley, who went on to be an Alloa legend. We'd all just been put together.
Wow.
And we just went on and won the league. What a season it was. What a season. The next season, again, I'd signed a year deal with Alloa. Done so well. Up until at the end that when they offered me a new deal, I just went aye. I enjoyed it that much. I enjoyed playing for the team. At that point, funny enough, with all the goals, I get the manager at goals. I was up still playing five-a-side, probably shouldn't have been. And he was playing in goals. And he was like, well, what are you doing outside football? And I was like, well, I'm playing with Alloa. Kilmarnock were still letting me come in and train because they loved having me about the place. So I was still in training with them. As not even while I wasn't getting paid, I was just in training with him for that full year. And it probably led me on to be as good as I was that first year. They let me come in and still train, even though I wasn't getting paid because I just loved training. Trained with Alloa at night. Played that season with Alloa. Player of the year, team of the year, all these kind of things. The boy Chris that worked here, the goalie, he was like, well, listen, I own a gym. Why don't you...
Irish guy?
Aye. He's like, he says, what are you doing outside for work and money and things like that? And I said, well, I get paid that for Alloa. It's an alright wage. And he's like, well, listen, why don't you come? He said, I need somebody to work behind the bar. He says, come and do a couple of nights in. And do you know something? The first couple of years, boys were out partying. And I'm not saying I didn't go out and enjoy nights with my mates. I worked a Friday and a Saturday shift in here, behind the bar. Sometimes working on the door at 21st and things like that, do you know what I mean? So it really helped me, do you know what I mean? So I was going for playing with Alloa, coming home and then working a night shift behind the bar. So doing it goals. And then I'd maybe do a wee night during the week, and I'd end up playing in one of the fives tournaments or something like that, do you know what I mean? So he got me into that, plus he let me come and train in his gym as well. So he owned a gym, so I went and trained in his gym. So it just showed the way things happened. And the next year, signed a new year with Alloa, still doing the same thing, getting in and training during the day. Second season, we're going to get promoted for the players.
Wow.
So we literally went for a club that get relegated to promoted, winning the league, promoted for the playoffs, right into the championship. So it was just a mad 2 seasons. Then next thing you know, you're in the championship. So I think I was about 21 at that point, and I was reaching I think I was just about 100 games. Which nowadays, that we've got a couple of boys that we've signed at Cove that are coming out of still just coming out of academy football. They've only played 10 games. Do you know what I mean? At that point, I was an established first team player for Alloa. We were going into the championship. Our goal that season was stay in the championship because Rangers were coming up the leagues and Hibs and Hearts were coming down the league. So for the club and for us to play at these stadiums, it was a big season, and we stayed up on the last day of the season. We stayed up, and it wasn't even by us. We get beat. And I always remember Scott Bain, we were playing Falkirk away, we get beat 1-0. Cowden Beef were the other team that we had to, they had the results going their way as well. And we all went in thinking, all right, we're in the playoffs to go down, right? Keep your heads up, you don't know what's happening. Scott Bain came in the changing room, booted a ball right through the ceiling. He's like, Bob McHugh's just scored in the 96th minute to beat Cowden Beef. And it's not exactly what he said, right? There was a couple of F words in there, right? Put a ball through the roof, and we all just started bouncing about cheering. So the kind of 3 seasons there, that first 3 seasons it was an absolute roller coaster. And I've always got a great thing. And we played Alloa yesterday, actually, and I was talking about the fans. And I've always got a piece in my heart for Alloa because it was 3 such massive seasons. And then the 4th year was the same old Alloa always cheating. And I was involved in that team where Rangers couldn't beat us. So to go and play at Ibrox and things like that was phenomenal.
That's something else, man.
The other thing that happened at the end of that year was I did get an offer to go back full time with Livingston, but they just couldn't agree money. So I did end up saying, all right, I'll stay. So I stayed for a 4th year. And then that summer I decided, right, I'm wanting to get back into full time. I've got the attitude for it. I want to go back in full time. I was supposed to be going down to Portsmouth. I had a trial down in Portsmouth, and my dad was still hanging this to this day. I decided to play in a charity match and twisted my knee.
Oh my God.
No saying that would listen, things happen for a reason. I'll never. The summer before before that, I met my now wife and things like that. Do you know what I mean? So listen, you don't know where your life might have been. Like my dad always says, you shouldn't have done it. And I'm like, listen, you can't think about the way things might have went. You don't know. I might not have been involved in football anymore. So, I signed a 6 month at Alloa to stay, and 6 months into my 4.5 years there, I decided, right, I'm back fit now, I'm going to leave, and I took the chance to go over to Cork in Ireland. And while I was over there, they were offering me a deal. My agent at the time phoned me up and went, don't sign it. And he's like, I'm going to book you a flight back home. He's at St Johnstone, want to sign you in the Premier League in the January. And I was like, really? And he's like, no, like the deal's done. Like, we've sorted it. They want to sign you. And I was like, right, okay. I had to go and tell the manager at Cork and flew back that night and signed with, for the weekend before I was playing with Alloa, till the weekend later I was on the bench in the Premier League.
Wow.
So I get told when I went in, they were like, listen, we've followed you, I think young, exciting player. We've got a right back in the now, boy loan for Celtic. We've not been doing really well, but he's been in for the week, so we're going to keep him in at right back. He said, but we want to get you into the team. And I'm like, right, okay. And again, this is football, luck, timing, everything.
Mm-hmm.
That weekend, the boy scored and had an assist. Right? St Johnstone won. St Johnstone won 8 out of the next 10 games. Right? And I came on twice for them. Right? But the boy done phenomenal at right back. And I'm going, I was loving life because I was on the bench, but I wanted to play again. You know what it's like. But they were doing so well, and I'm just going, it's just timing. It's just absolute timing. Do you know what I mean? Like it was just a bit of luck that he started, a bit of unluck that he started doing really, really well, and the team started doing really, really well. So I played a couple of games there, got to the end of the year, and Jim Duffy gave me a phone from Morton, and he was like, "Listen, I know you want to stay in full-time football, and I'm wanting to offer you a 2-year deal." So I went down to Morton.
Wow, just like that.
So in the space of 6 months, I'd went from Alloa. Bit gutted that obviously things happened in the summer. Stayed at Alloa for 6 months, to St Johnstone in the Premier League, to then into Alloa in the Championship. So it was just a spiral where 6 months kind of went for, because it does get to a point when you're part time, and people always keep saying to you, listen, maybe you need to get a job now. Like, I know you're making all right money at football, but you're in training with Kilmarnock during the day, and but you could, like, you're 21 now, you could maybe go and get another job and still make a decent living and things like that. And I was like, no, I'm just wanting to play football. I want to concentrate. I'm a little bit bored about going to make money and things like that. I still believe there's something to be done here, and I'm glad I did, because by the Christmas time I was obviously playing with St Johnstone. So I stuck in there. I do believe actually never gave up the shifts behind the bar. I just enjoyed that as much as well, by the way.
Do you know what? It's funny you talk about the shifts behind the bar. I've done a shift behind the bar at Goals before, right? And obviously played here a number of years. But I remember at one point, I don't know if they still go it, but they used to have this thing with call a player.
Yeah.
So they'd phone you up, they'd say, there's a team looking for a player, can you jump down? So we're local, right? So I used to always get a phone call. I remember one Saturday or a Sunday morning, I got a phone call. There's a team down here, can you come down and kick a boot? I look the shot of a player. So I says, I need bother. So I comes away down, and I come with Thistle supporters at the time. So we're down here playing, and I jumps onto the park, and I'm like, right, what team am I? And this guy walks up and he goes, there you go, wee man, get a bib. And it's Kevin Bridges.
Right, okay.
So it's all his pals and stuff that are playing. And I'm like, oh, fucking hell, Kevin Bridges.
Yeah,
man.
Kevin used to play here.
That's at the time when he was like just taking off and doing really well.
Yep.
So it was a bit of banter throughout the park, right? He was hanging me. So I says, look, at the end of the game, wasn't a great football player, by the way, right? Brilliant.
Who you or Kevin?
Both. Right? So he goes like that, he says...
You're not bad, I've played twice with you, all right.
He says, I says, listen, cheers for the game, I really enjoyed it. He says, if you're ever struggling, just give me a shout, they've got my number. And he went, no, I'll give your number now. He said, I'll take it and I'll message you. And I says, cool. So exchanged numbers. He followed me on Twitter, right, which I was fucking buzzed about him at the time. Nobody's following me on Twitter, Kevin Bridges. He still follows me to this day. So he's like, but played for a few weeks, right? He would message me every now and again. At one time he messaged me, I was in Cancun, and he went like, Paul, you play tomorrow? I says, mate, I'm in Cancun. He went like, Monty fuck, stop, mate. It's 'cause she's not. I had to send him a picture of the beach, right? But this went on for a few weeks, but it just became the norm when you're playing football at the weekend with Kevin. And the best bit was I was out with the Thistle boys, right? We were up Byers Road at what do you call that big church at the top of the Hangme?
On more.
Or in Moore, and Marty Seawright's band were playing in.
Yep.
So not only team night out, we're up there, we're in Oranmore, watch your boys, we're walking down Byers Road, and a couple of the boys just go, oh my God, look, there's Kevin Bridges. At this time, he's fucking sky high, everybody knows who he is, right? All the boys are, oh, Kev, can I get a 40? Kev, can I get a 40? Oh, there's Kevin Bridges. Kevin Bridges goes, Paul McBride, what's happening, mate? How we doing? And all the boys are like, the fuck's going on here?
You walking away, I've known Kevin for fucking years.
Absolutely brilliant.
Look, listen, they started the call-up thing, but what they used to do with me was, I obviously worked behind the bar. I used to do like a Wednesday night behind the bar, and there was nothing to do. On a Saturday and a Sunday, you were doing like functions and 21st and 30th and 50th and all these kind of things. And I really enjoyed it. And ended up, you would come in there a wee shift during the week. Not a lot of money. I just liked being involved in it. And you'd come in, you'd have everything done behind the bar already. So you had the whole night just sitting there. Nobody's coming in for a pint on a Wednesday night. The bar was empty. And they used to they call up the player. And then they'd just come in and say to me, Michael, have you got your boots? So I ended up getting paid to work behind the bar, but going out and playing for like 2 or 3 teams, then I gave my 5-a-sides. So I was technically still getting paid to play football. So I was like, I'm just going out and I'm going to give my 5-a-sides. And the standards always went up and down and things like that. But I loved it. I just loved playing football. I was like, so I used to always bring my football stuff with me to go like goals and be like, hey, do you know what I mean? And my manager Hartley knows me. Me and Hartley had a lot of ding dongs when I was younger because I just always had a chip on my shoulder. I was just brought up with very diverse. I don't know how to word that, like that Albion, like
a wee bit of attitude.
But no arrogance, no that one. I kind of like you always push back. Like if you feel as if you're getting ranged, you've got to say something. So I've always been like that. So me and Hartley just did ding dong all the time, but he loved it. He'd come in at half time and he'd just go at me because he knew I'd be like an half my nut. And I pulled him up. I remember the first year we won the league, we were at Magleth, and I remember sitting in the pool and I was like, why are you always shouting at me? Why is it me you're always shouting at me? He went, because it gets the best out of you. And I'm like, bastard.
See, I love that. That's
right. I know. He knows that the angrier he gets me, I'm going to come out and take that out on somebody else and play better. And he knew it as well, and I couldn't argue with it. And I love it now because I knew it was a mental. It's probably a wee thing that's went away from football, but it was a wee mental side that he knew to push people's buttons to get the best out of them. He knew that not to push people's buttons because you wouldn't get the best out of them, they would take it to heart. So I left Alloa, St Johnstone, went to Morton, ended up in Morton with the Duffman. Loved it. Again, back full time, down at Parkley, just down at Morton. Club that was right in close, the park was in right close, all the fans, you know what I mean? Like it's probably one of the clubs I've been at where you get noticed a lot. So I used to go, I wouldn't know a high-priced footballer or anything like that, if you asked me, my plumber. But I would go down to like Morton's, the supermarket, down to like the shopping mall, right? Like my missus, she used to work down there as well, and I'd go down for lunch, and there'd be like wee boys coming up and going, Doyley, can I get a photo and all that? Just be mad Morton fans, and I was like, brilliant. Like, so you felt, I was like, so I loved it down there. First year we done amazing, got to the semi-final of the League Cup, finished 4th in the league in the playoffs. Do you know what I mean? Just a great season. Second year, I had a 2-year there. Second year, didn't do as well. I think we finished like 6th. So we had a decent enough season. I got offered another 2-year deal from Jim Duffy, and I was like, right, okay, like, we'll sort things out. Start talking about money and things like that. And he ended up getting the Dan Mac. He ended up getting the sack. So I don't know what happened there. I've not got opinions on it. I don't know what happened there. He ended up leaving. And it was Ray McKinnon that came in, and he'd phoned me while I was holiday. And again, it was, I want to just bring my own people in, Doyley. I was like, are you okay? I've played the last 2 years, I've played almost every game, but you want to go with your own people. At this point, I was 24, 25, and I was like, listen, this is just the way football happens. I know it. I don't mind it. Don't worry about it. I'd already put the feelers out to speak to other people anyway. And during that summer, I ended up signing with Queen of the South in the Championship as well, which trained at Hamilton, played down in Dumfries. So I kind of landed on my feet a wee bit anyway. And it's just a wee bit ironic that when I left Queen of the South, I actually signed with Ray McKinnon at Falkirk. So he went for... and by the way, Ray McKinnon signed me twice after that as well. So he went for, I'm going to bring my own people in to then sign and play with 2 clubs for him. Do you know what I mean? So it's just the way football works. I always believe you shouldn't take things to heart. The managers are doing their job as well. They maybe get people they want to bring in, they trust, and they don't know you yet. or they maybe not rate you until they actually meet you, and they meet me. And I always think that unless you've shared a changing room with me, or you actually see me day to day, you don't know what I bring to a football club outside the 90 minutes on a Saturday. The 90 minutes on a Saturdays is as important as the most important, of course it is, but there's a day-to-day thing about it as well. And there's an aspect in training where you need boys, I believe, like me, who drive training, who have like kind of heights that they want everybody to reach and things like that. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
So, and he, when I left Queen of the South, because I wanted to try something different, I actually went down south. York offered me a deal. On my way back up, Falkirk phoned me and he's like, no, before you do it, come in and see me at the stadium. Doyle, come in and see me at the stadium. And I'm driving up to Falkirk, and at this point, Falkirk's a massive club. They're now back in the Premier League, where I rightfully believe they should be. But when you drive up to the stadium and you go, wow, like this is, do you know what I mean? I know they've only got 3 stands, but when you actually drive up to it and you go, by the way, this is a first class stadium. You go in and training. Spoke away from him, and we sorted a deal there and then, which was supposed to be a 2-year deal until COVID kicked in.
And ruined everything.
Aye. So I did have a 2-year deal. We were second in the league, and we were one of the teams that got done with. I think we were 8 points behind Raith Rovers, 2 games in hand, and still had to play Raith Rovers at our ground where they hadn't beat us. So we're still going into the last maybe 10 games of the season going, by the way, we're going to win our 2 games. We've still got to play them at home in the last day of the season. That's all to play for. Do you know what I mean? But then the league ended up they scrapped it, promoted Raith Rovers, and we stayed in the league. And part of my deal was the second year clicked in if we got promoted. So I didn't even get a chance. So COVID kicked in, which was fine. Again, I was like, right, I'll just wait to see what happens in the summer. Just wait. That was the way my career's always went. Just see what happens in the summer. And Ray McKinnon was taking over at Queen's Park, who were in League 2 at the time. And he's like, no, we're going full time. We're putting a lot of money into it. He's like, if you can speak to any other clubs that's offering as good a money we are, he says, we'll get back. And he's like, I know you don't want to drop down the levels because you've already dropped in to go to Falkirk, which I didn't want to drop down to League 1 essentially, because I was like, I want to go up the way. But then he was like, I'm telling you, we're going to be going like. So then you looked at the players they signed: Simon Murray, Bob McHugh, Grant Gillespie, Louis Longridge. He signed all these championship boys to drop down and go, right, we're just going to go on this journey together. And I went, right, okay. So I joined in, and you could see the way the club was going. They're obviously in the championship now, so we won the league without getting beat. League 2, it was the second time I won it, and I won probably the biggest individual award I've had. I won Player of the League for the PFA and all that. Wow. So being a right back, you don't really get acknowledged that kind of way.
That's pretty impressive.
I won the Player of the whole league, which was a good season for me. Went into the second season, was made club captain, and we got promoted for the players. Wow. So we went on like another good run towards the end of the year, which takes me to the summer again, where you've done all this great 2-year period. You go in a meeting with a manager who'd only been in for Zolan Coyle, who'd only been in for maybe 8 or 9 games. And he just kind of basically said that decisions had been made before he got to the club about who was staying and who was leaving. So I'm sitting there, of course, I'm going, at this point I was 30. I think I was 30 at this point. I'm going, do you know something? This is the way football works. This is the way that people probably don't realise about the thing about football is you can be doing well and then get a kick in the balls. Like, it just happens that way. Success in football is this tiny wee bit. And even if you get that tiny wee bit, football's this, you get this tiny wee bit of success. Because one team gets promoted, there's another 9 that don't. So you're all fighting for that tiny wee bit of success. You can be this team that gets that wee bit of success, and it still doesn't go your way. And that is the dark side of football. It ends up that you don't. So I never got offered a new deal, and I was like, right, okay, just brush yourself out and see what happens for there.
So see, you said about obviously one of your what we always do on this podcast is we talk about the highs and the lows, right? So what's the highest? What do you think's the number one top moment of your football career where you've been like, wow, I can't believe this actually happened?
Wow. I don't know, actually, like the highest. I mean, like, people would say, obviously, when you make your debut in like, the Premier League and things like that, it was nice to come on and nice to thingy. Wasn't that big a deal. Like, I get it. If you're playing week in and week out, I totally get it. I played a couple of games. Moved back into obviously the championship. Highs, I know. I mean, as I say, I've won 2 leagues, been promoted twice. So we went that bump journey, which was great. The second year at Queen's Park, I felt it was probably as high and as low because of that conversation after it. We were 21 points behind Airdrie, who finished second. So, Cove won the league. They won the league. Airdrie finished second. We finished 4th in the playoffs, right? So we have to go and play Dunfermline, team coming down for the championship. Can't remember who Airdrie played, but anyway, it was a team that finished 3rd. And it might have been Alloa, actually. And it ended up that we went into these games, obviously the underdogs. We go and beat Dunfermline. We're going to the final against Airdrie, who would never beat the whole year. Had they beat them the whole year, finished 21 points behind them, right? They just missed out on winning the league. We'd just scraped into the playoffs. So I'm going in there as club captain. We drew at home. We're going to their ground. And we beat them 1-0. No, probably 1-2-1, I can't remember. That's terrible, isn't it? But we beat them. Anyway, I made a great last-ditch tackle that probably doesn't get spoken about as well as the penalty that we scored to win it, right? But it was a great last-ditch tackle. And just that wee bit where promoted on the park, celebrating with my mates, looked in the crowd, and there was my dad. Went around there, I'm going to tear up with it. Ran there, gave him a big cuddle, and I was like, it was such a hard year. And that was just amazing. So for my high, because I was club captain at the time, and there was a lot of stuff that happened that season that I don't really ever talk about, but the people came in, and probably one of the reasons I left. And I felt I had to say a few things to some of the people there, that because I was a senior player and sticking up for players, and a lot of rigmarole, just a lot of things happened that year. And that was probably one of the highest I got, which I'd love to do again. Just the fact that my dad was there in the crowd, and I went and celebrated with him, and he came back to the hotel ways and all that, and he celebrated with the players and all that. And we had a great thing. And there was a thing. It's funny, one of the things the guy who was there was a Dutch guy. He came up with this idea about making a video before we go out to the last game for everybody to watch. So that was on me to do that. He contacted me. He's like, listen, can you contact all the players' families and we'll make like a wee montage?
Right, okay.
And they'll know about it. So I ended up messaging everybody's wife, everybody's mum, everybody's dad. People who played in other countries. And I was like, listen, messaging them on Facebook, listen, wanting this any wee motivational wee thing. So people's grannies and grandas and people who hadn't seen in years. So as we're sitting in pre-match before the final, I played the video, right? Boys are greeting and everything because there's like wee boy Tommy Robinson's like more his mum's in it and all that, and he's almost in tears, and his uncle, and there's other people's family who they did no clue. Nobody had no clue about it, right? So then it gets to my video, right? And I haven't even seen my video, right? And my dad walks out with a zebra mask on, right? And I swear to God, that, by the way, because we sent the video the other day, he walked out with he can't do anything serious, right? So he walked out with a zebra mask on, and my auntie walked out with I don't know where he got these masks, right? With a horse mask. So everybody's in stitches, right? And I'm like, that just sums up my dad. Like, they couldn't do anything serious, so he does that. So again, we end up like just seeing him in the crowd, celebrating with him. Him and coming back into the pub, we're all sitting having a couple of drinks. Next thing you know, he pops out the zebra mask, and we're all cheering and all that. And I was like, brilliant. So that was probably that was aye, because it was one of the recent kind of successes. That was a high for me. That was a high. Low, probably leaving Queen's Park the way the meeting went. Obviously, thinking club captain, played really well, player of the year before for the league. Then get told that this is where the journey stops for you. Do you know what I mean? You're not getting to. You've just had all that success. You've got the club. You went to the club when they were right down at the bottom, and got them up to where they'd never been before, and then getting told they're not taking you on. And I'm going right. So I mean that was a kick, but everything happens for a reason. Do you know what I mean? So there's that. I'm trying to think any other lows because there's plenty of lows. Listen, you only need to ask my wife about me coming home after getting beat. No, for the years she's been with me. And she knows it's all lows. I hate it. I even now I say I know it's only football, but it destroys me. It really does. Lows. listen, I kick a ball about for football, and I love it. It's my job. I mean, like, anybody, like my dad worked in building sites his whole life, and he frees and call building sites, like, and he always says that the people do what you do and don't get paid for it. Aye. People play football after their work.
Aye.
And I try to say that to young boys. You don't know what working a day in your life is. You'd like, I've done shifts on bars and I've done shifts in building sites with my dad and all that. And I'm like, you don't know what real work is. You're playing football. It's one of the best jobs in the world. Doesn't matter if you do it at the lowest level or the highest level. You're doing a job that everybody loves. Do you know what I mean?
Everybody would love to do.
So do you know, everybody would love to do it. And it's actually my father-in-law when because I've been with my missus now for 13 years, but he's seen me going up to the summers and knowing where I'm going to be my next journey is, where I'm going to be going after the summer and things like that. And he was in the fire service for 30 odd years, so he's never experienced that. And he's like, listen, it's mad, like, how your career goes this way, like how different it is for other professions. You don't know where you're going to be. Like, as I just said, you could be the most successful person in the team and end up nowhere a job in the summer. Do you know what I mean? You end up without a wage through the summer, so it can be absolutely incredible.
Terrifying.
So he says that, and it does hit home a wee bit. And then I try to say that to the young kids nowadays. I'm like, listen, you've got to enjoy it while you're in it. Listen, as I say, I get really low when we lose and things like that. And God forbid I ever turn up to a game, like, my dad's not going to be here forever. Do you know what I mean? I want to keep playing football as long as I can. I think that would be one of the lowest things when I have a season where my dad's not there watching me.
And he still comes to the games.
Still comes to the games. Like, he obviously, when I'm up in Cove, he doesn't travel up there as much. But him and my auntie still try and get to every game that's closer to Glasgow. So
I did have a wee look yesterday to see where you're playing, and obviously it was up the road, and I thought it's a bit of a trek.
We're St Johnstone this week. We're playing St Johnstone at Hingy, so he'll be at that. You can still hear him in the crowd and things like that, so he still shouts and things like that. And Hartley knows him well as well, because I've been with Hartley now for 15 years ago was the last time when we started hanging with Hartley, so he knows us all well and he knows we're a bit mad. So, I've not had the lowest points yet. I guess I say football, it's people out there in their life lower things than I, so I can. I can never say that there's been some low points because I did a job that I love.
Aye. In terms of your contract just now, so how long is your contract just now? How long?
So this is my third year at Cove. When I left Queen's Park, I was away for the summer, and I ended up talking to the people at Hamilton, and they're like, "Well, why don't you come and do a bit of training with us?" So I went in, done pre-season with them, and I kind of said to them, I was like, "Listen, is there a deal there?" And they're like, "Listen, we wouldn't even think you would want it." It was like, "Aye, there's definitely a deal here for you." So I signed with them, and first 6 months I done really well. A couple of things changed at the club, and I ended up back out on loan to Alloa. Right, so I was out on loan to Alloa. End of the season, ended up in with Morton doing pre-season, because I was like, right, I want to stay in the championship. Back at Morton, to give me great guy let me in and did a bit of training. Came on the park in a bounce game, pre-season game, and 60 seconds into the game, big guy Tony Gross, not his fault, lands awkwardly on my knee, dislocates my kneecap. So I was 31 at that time, 31, 32, was lying on the park, foot was that way, knee was that way, like, and I'm thinking, and I'm looking, and I was genuinely like that, like, I don't know, this could be it. Like, you don't know. Like, I've never had a really bad injury. Like, I know I was talking about the knee thing earlier, but I was back in like 4 or 5 weeks after that. Like, this dislocated kneecap, foot the wrong way round. I was like that. Like, wow. Like, and I mean, like, the Morton boys, the whole game got abandoned. I was lying on the park for about an hour and a half until the ambulance came. The whole game got abandoned because they didn't want to move me. Broadfoot and I was playing that game. He was like, "That's one of the worst I've ever." Like, so I'm thinking to myself, "Oh no, this is horrendous." Took the doctor 3 times to get my leg back in. Eventually got it back into place. So I'm like, listen, what's going to happen here? Like, is it going to always pop out of place? Like, what kind of... Because this was... Talking about low points, that could have probably been a low point, because at the point I'm thinking, wow, I don't know. I was lying on the couch. I wasn't signed with a club, so I wasn't getting paid. My knee was swole up. And I'm like, oh no. Thankfully, the doctor said, because it was a freak accident, hopefully the ligaments won't be damaged. It wasn't like a twist or anything like that. It was just somebody landed on the kneecap and the kneecap popped out. I went like, right, me and my wife sat down and my wife was brilliant. She's like, listen, no, whatever the problem is, we'll fix it. That's the way she is. She's absolutely magnificent. She's like, whatever it is, we will fix it. Whatever it is, we'll get through it. We'll just stick into it. We'll see what happens. Right, okay. Went to the gym the next day. Went like, right, I'll just go and do stuff up our body. Gym next day, started going to the gym. Started to get my leg back moving. Dougie Emery, and I always give him thanks for this. He's like, no, listen, you get injured with us. I wasn't a signed player. He's like, you get injured with us, you come in and do your rehab with us, we'll pay for everything.
Excellent.
I was like, he's like, we've got a duty of care. I was like, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Wow. Brilliant. Brought me in, got me back fit, training with him. So I went and spoke to him, and I was like, listen, is there a deal here for me? Like, and he's like, look, I'm not needing another defender. And I was like, right, totally get it. The way football is, totally get it. You've got people you need in. I'm not fitting that bill because you don't need another defender. Phoned one of the guys at Cove with Paul Hartley, and I was like, they were both in the league at the time, and I was like, right. I says, listen, can I come up and do a bit of training? Aye, okay. Went up, trained once, and then he went, listen, what do you think about playing on Saturday as a trialist? I went, listen, I've not played about 2 or 3 months. So I was like, I don't know if I've been blown on my backside. And he's like, listen, come and play. Played, done really well. On the way home, they offered me a 2-year deal there and then. And I was like, listen, let me sign till January. Because see if I like it. See all the travelling and things like that. Enjoyed it that much. Started shooting up the league. That I signed a 2.5-year deal there in the January. So, got to the summer there. We just missed out on promotion. We got to the playoff final. And in the summer, manager phoned me up. He's like, listen, spoke to everybody at the club. We want to keep you. What are you thinking? And I was like, listen, do you know, I'm enjoying it that much. So signed another year. I'm there for another year now anyway. Excellent. So we'll see what happens after that. Now I'm starting to get into the coaching side of stuff. I was obviously saying it earlier. I'm getting in with Morton to do a bit of coaching as well. So I'm looking forward to that. I am in no way looking at retiring.
Of course.
Listen, I'm still beating everybody in fitness tests and things like that. I'm not getting any. I don't believe I'm getting any slower anyway. I do my sprint tests and things like that. So I'm gonna play. And boys have said that to me. Listen, you'll end up one of the players that play until you're 40. And I was like, listen, hopefully. People will say you'll know when your body tells you you're ready to retire. You're not enjoying it anymore. And I'm like, listen, I am not there at all yet. I'd go and play 5 seasons if one of the boys kicked this ball. I'd be like, listen,
I've got 7 tonight.
Listen, we're needing a player. No, listen, I am in no way ready to retire. I do get it that when you start to get older, when you go to negotiate deals, contracts are less and shorter and things like that, and I get that. But I'm in this for another couple of years anyway.
And I suppose you talked about getting involved in coaching. I take it you see that as a natural progression then after football. After, obviously, you're not in a hurry to finish, but when you do you think that's a natural progression route you'll go to?
Yeah, no, I've learned a lot from managers I've played under. I'm obviously getting more involved, and the older you get, the more experience you get, the manager asks for your advice. And I always feel I'm always honest. Like, and I always feel I have good advice. And I start, because you start playing with younger players now. I'm getting to that point now that I'm playing with people's boys who I played with their dad.
Aye.
Right? Do you know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of young boys coming through, and I'll always give them advice, and I always give them honest advice as well. If they're shite, I'll tell them they were shite. But I'll tell them in a good way, and I'll be like, listen, but no, you can do better. I was injured for a couple of weeks here, and the manager liked me run about the place to kind of give information to people, because I always be honest and I always try and help everybody. And I said this to the players, we were kind of going for a wee bad spell. I was like, listen, people give you criticism. I want you to do the best of your whole career. I want to be telling people in about 20 years' time, I played with that boy. You're a Scottish internationalist. There was one thing that one of the coaches gave me a bit of advice: when you're getting criticism, explain it to the guy, explain it to yourself, that the people who give you criticism that want you to do well is your family. So make it like that to the person. Like, I'm your family. I'm wanting you to do the best you can possibly do in your life. Do you know what I mean? Even if you're in my position and you're playing in front of me, I always give you I'm at that stage of my career now, I'll give you the best advice because I want you to be amazing. I want you to go, if we're winning every week, even if I'm on the bench, I'll hate it because I want to be playing. But the boys are doing the best as they possibly can. Do you know what I mean? I never get jealous of people. I never get envious of people that way. I want them to go and do the best. But boys teams I've left and they've went on to do well. I'll always give them texts and say, "Oh, amazing." Do you know what I mean? Like, so good.
Aye.
Wish you the best, mate, and all that. Do you know what I mean? Like, honestly, I love it. I love it when people go and do well for themselves. And that's not just in football. When people do well for themselves and other walks of life, it's just amazing. Do you know what I mean? They worked hard for it. Why not? So progression-wise, started doing all my licenses. I feel as if when people spoke to me, they gave me a bit of confidence because they go, "By the way, you're really good at this. Like, this might be something good for you." Doesn't mean it'll work out. Again, I know in football it doesn't work out. There's not a lot of jobs going about with things like that. I get that. But I definitely want to go in because I think it's something that I'm passionate about. I'm not ready to give up playing, but I definitely think I've got knowledge that I can pass on to people. Not just all the highs, or the lows as well. Do you know what I mean? And I'm saying there's obviously a lot of lows, but there's a lot of things I think I can pass on to players with experience I've got. Do you know, I'm coming up to 600 professional games now. And if you'd have told me that when I was 15, 16, I would have been like, nah, I've never reached that. But
have you got a target? Is there a 700? Is there a 650? Is there something?
I know. I'd like to say 1,000, but it's when you look at it now, but you 50 games a year probably, and you're not always. I'm usually always fit. This year I had a wee injury that probably kept me out, but up until then, I think I'd played 86 games in a row. I think Cove put a thing out last year that I played 48 games in a row every minute of every game, leading up to the playoff final. So, I mean, that was me 34 doing all that. Do you know what I mean? So, I know I'm not any thingy of slowing down. Have I got a target? I don't know. Until they stretch on me off. Until they go, and even then I might try and get one or two there in. Even when I become a gaffer, I might just like take the shot and I just throw myself on just maybe at the end of games to get a wee appearance. No, it's not something I look at. Do you know what I mean? It was actually somebody that told me it. I didn't know how many I'd played because if you asked me about my last game, I couldn't remember half of the game. You know what I mean? So I don't have a target. Just keep playing and keep enjoying it as long as I can. Enjoy it as long as I can because it'll eventually end. And I remember walking into Parkhead when I was a young kid, and I remember that first time at Hamilton. And I remember all the downs when I was leaving clubs and going to new clubs and pre-seasons and all these things, and it's went by like that. It has went by like that.
Football is mad, but in it, right? Like how it makes you feel. Because so I was at a Scotland game the other night, right? And I used to go to a lot of Scotland home games. But I remember me and my oldest daughter, so me and Rachel were at a game, right? We got 2 tickets, kind of last minute thing. One of the boys gave me tickets and we ended up going. And I was talking to my daughter, we're driving up and chatting away to her about the games and stuff. And I showed her a picture of her first ever Scotland game. And I was telling her, and I said, I actually cried when I went to Hampden for the first time. And she's like, why? And I was like, it was quite emotional.
Yeah.
I was like, football's been a big part of my life through it. I said, playing, managing, being involved in amateur clubs. I loved being around football, and I loved football, and I loved Scotland. I was like, I remember going there, my first born kid, my first child, which I always thought was a boy, turned out it was a lassie. She did play football for 3 years at Clydebank, right enough, but not so much anywhere. But I remember telling her, I was like, you walked up the steps, the roar went up, the Hampden roar, and your face just went like that, and I actually cried. I was like, this is emotional. And then I was at the game there and I took a photo and I'm like, let's recreate the photo that we did back then. So before the game kicked off, we recreated the photo that we did for our first ever Scotland game. And then we just witnessed something which I don't think I'll ever witness again in my lifetime.
As I say, I was talking about my dad earlier and things like we done a weight loss thing. He done a weight loss thing. I made a bet where if he lost like 4 stone in a year, I'd take him to the Euros. Sorted it out with the club and everything, right? And as I was saying earlier, I'd have signed with Celtic Rangers. We were never. My brother maybe a wee bit more Celtic, well, a lot more Celtic. My dad probably Celtic growing up. I was never that bothered. I'd go to things, charity matches. My dad would have Rangers taps on, Celtic taps on. You never bothered either. So people think that's weird. I can probably get a wee bit more now when I say I play football because I'd play for anybody. I just love playing football. Anyway, we used to go to Scotland games together, and I'd say to him, listen, if we get to the Euros. We'll go to the Euros. If you lose this weight, I'll take you to the Euros. I'll sort it. I'll pay for it. But I'd asked my club for a couple of extra weeks off so we could go there. It was his 60th coming up, and we did. And he got dead emotional about it because he kept going, I'm here with my boy. I'm here with my boy, and he loved it. So the other night when Scotland, it just so happened him and my brother aren't always together. We don't always cross each other's paths. We just so happened I'd get home for training in time to watch the last 15 minutes of the Scotland game. My dad was in the pub with us, my brother was sitting next to us. My brother's not a big Scotland fan, more a Celtic fan. And then that all happened, and we all just up grabbing each other, blah, blah. And it was just my dad and me. He said, "I'm with my boys. I'm with my boys. This is amazing." And that meant, and I get it. One of my goals I always said with my wife was I wanted to see my kids watch me play football. We don't have any kids yet, right? So I might hold on until we do have kids, and then I get to take them. They might not remember it, but might hold on until I do kids, and maybe get them a mascot or something like that. So that I might hold on until that point. But as I say, I'm not in any. And my missus don't get any kids yet, by the way. It's not exclusive or anything, by the way, right? Like,
we got exclusive news. Michael Doyle's about to be a father. His wife doesn't know yet.
She doesn't know. She's not involved. My wife's not involved. So I might hold on to have that kind of feeling, because as I go back to obviously the start of the kind of podcast when I was saying about me going to football with my dad and being in changing rooms with my dad, things like that, remembering them, that was how I was brought up. So I always think I'd love my kids to do that kind of experience. It's not happened yet. Things always happen for a reason. So I might hold on to that kind of factor. I might. We'll see what happens. But I'm in no slowing down mode. I'm actually going to the gym after this podcast, even though I played yesterday. So I'm still trying to keep going, trying to go as much as I possibly can.
Excellent. But I feel this is probably a good wee kind of finishing time for the podcast. It's been good. It's always fun to catch up with you. I don't see you as often as what I used to when you're about a drum, but no, it's been good. So if people are
listening, I can talk shite for Scotland. Listen, I just love talking football. I love talking to people. I always love just chatting away at things like, you know that yourself.
Well, do you know what I was thinking is this obviously only the second episode. The plan is to fire these out every fortnight, and then when it comes to the Christmas one, so I'll maybe try and fire them out fortnight. When it comes to Christmas or New Year, I might do one about my journey, what I've done. And what I'll do is I'll ask people in the YouTube comments, or if you're on Spotify or whatever, you can jump onto YouTube and drop a wee comment. Drop a comment and tell us who's your favourite guest is, because that guest will then interview me for the final one. The end of the season.
I'll do a fancy dress.
So that's the plan. Mick will show up with his zebra mask on.
I'm doing November the new, actually, by the way, a little wee bit like one of the Musketeers, D'Artagnan.
Where can people find you then? So where's your next game? Your next game's next Saturday.
So we play St Johnstone in the Scottish Cup next week. We drew yesterday. Listen, our season's been filled with injuries. If you came to the game last week, we beat Hamilton 2-1, but if you looked in the bench, looked in the stand, there was 6 of your most experienced players sitting in the stand. So our season yesterday was the first time we'd actually been able to fill a bench the whole year. Chrissy Maguire's just signed for us. Greg Stewart's coming in as well, so we're adding that wee bit of experience in. We've got boys coming back for injury, so we're doing there at the bottom of the league now, and we're not looking at the top of the league, we're not looking anywhere up there, we're just looking at the next game. It's got a Scottish Cup, but we're hoping the season improves, and we think it will, because the quality we've got on show when everybody's fit, then we can still have a good season. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's not a good start to the season, football is a long season, so we're concentrating on the next game. We play St Johnstone in the Scottish Cup on Saturday.
And so when this podcast goes out, it'll be Friday afternoon. So the game should be tomorrow. And whereabouts is that?
I played with St Johnstone. What's St Johnstone's park called?
It'll be
McDermott Park. McDermott Park.
There you go.
I played there.
So if you're listening to this, or if you're watching on YouTube, pop along to McDermott Park tomorrow. Cheer on Mick and the boys. As we finish up, once again, thank you if you've listened so far. If you've watched on YouTube, then let us know in the comments what you think. And thank you again for listening. And as we always do, we finish with the car may be parked, but the journey continues. That's our tagline, Mick. How do you think? Will it work?
Still feel as if I'm getting involved in a porno thing here.
That's the other cameras.
I've ruined it. No, listen, it was great. It was no. Listen, I think it's a great thing you're doing. I said that at the start, where you were obviously saying that. I feel as if there's so many great podcasts happening. Everybody's great, and interviewing that's great. Like, that fact that you can come to the people, to where they are, and do the interview in such a relaxed kind of thing, I think is great. Obviously, I think you'll get a lot of people coming on because of that aspect. With they don't need to come to you don't need to come into a podcast studio and things like that, and then you're not comfortable. Whereas with this, I mean, I'm just obviously just part there. Like, you can come and meet that person anywhere and get the interview and kind of things like that done. Do you know what I mean? So no, listen, I've enjoyed it, mate. I think, and I hope you did really well with it. I really do, and I'd love to come back on an interview him, actually.
Magic.
But no, listen, I mean, I've enjoyed it. As I say, I always just love talking, catching up. We've not caught up in a while, actually.
In a while, aye.
Because we're no shouting at a football on a five-a-side park. But
he's saying this, he'll come to Sevens later.
I'll come to Sevens later, shout you abuse. Aye, no, listen, I wish you the best, mate.
Magic, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right, cheers, Troops. We'll catch you in the next one.